Only the dead have no secrets. Hi folks, Harry here, and today I am beyond excited to be giving you this video because this is my review of Stephen King's most recent novel, Later. Oh my god, this book was absolutely fantastic. I'm going to keep this review spoiler free because if you're watching this video, you probably haven't had enough time to read this book yet, but I personally binged this book in about 12 hours and oh my goodness, it was absolutely amazing. I rated it 5 stars, and if you're wondering, this is my 11th favourite Stephen King book, so he did bloody well. So Later is a novel that Stephen King himself referred to as a stew, and what he meant by this is it's a really nice blend of genre. This book is published by Hard Case Crime, who also published his crime books, The Colorado Kid and Joyland, but Later is more than just a crime novel. It is like a horror, thriller, gothic, suspense. It's just such an amazing blend of genre. So this book is narrated in first person by the main character, Jamie Conklin. That's his name, Conklin. Strange last name, but cool with that. And we follow him, I think, from the age of 6 up until his teenagehood, and he's always had the ability to see dead people. Now you're probably thinking that just sounds like The Sixth Sense. You'd be right. This book does have a lot of similarities to The Sixth Sense, but I wouldn't say it is The Sixth Sense. There are definitely a lot of similarities between them, and I think that anyone that likes The Sixth Sense would absolutely love Later, but they have so many similarities as stories. So this ability to see dead people is considered a gift, but it's also a massive burden, because obviously not everyone wants to see corpses everywhere they go. And another thing within this book is that Jamie sees animated versions of these dead people. So he'll see a corpse on the ground, but then standing next to the corpse will be like an animated version of the corpse. And not only does he see these dead people, he talks to them as well. But Jamie makes it very clear to us that dead people aren't the same as ghosts. Ghosts are evil and creepy. Some dead people are very nice, and some of them aren't. I'd say there are about 5 chapters in this book that all end with Jamie reminding us that this is a horror story. I think the sentence, "this is a horror story," appeared like 3 times in the book. And Jamie does not need to remind us that this is a horror story. We know that this is a horror story. Some of the imagery in this book is so creepy and eerie, and it will never leave my mind. I personally think that this is one of the creepiest and eeriest, possibly the creepiest Stephen King book ever. Like, obviously, you've got books like It and Pet Sematary, which are absolutely terrifying, but they're not eerie as such. Maybe Pet Sematary, but with Later, it's a completely different thing. Every single sentence in this book is just injected with that little bit of creepiness, and the whole atmosphere and tone of the book is so consistently scary, and then at the very end it's just like, whoa, 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 everything's going on. This is absolutely terrifying. So something really awesome about Later is it massively ties into It and the Dark Tower series, heavily. More so It than the Dark Tower. There are just a couple of references to this world, but there are a lot of references to It, and I'm not gonna spoil what they are, but when you read them, you will just scream with joy, because it is amazing to see the connections. But because of that, if you haven't read Later, I would highly recommend that you read It before you read Later, because there are very, very clear connections involving the Deadlights and the Ritual of Chud. With the Dark Tower series, you do not need to read the Dark Tower series to understand Later. You don't need to read It to understand Later. But the Dark Tower series, I think you will just appreciate Later a lot more if you have read the Dark Tower series, just because there are quite a few references kind of sprinkled in throughout the book. This book has a really, really heavy theme of trust and how the truth sucks. The first example of this in the book that we see is a 6-year-old Jamie being told by a dead person that his turkey artwork does not look like a turkey, and he's offended by this and he says that the truth sucks. But throughout the book, his definition of the truth sucking massively changes, because it starts referring to things like illness and just general lies and betrayal. That's another thing I want to comment on. Throughout this book, it's a really, really nice gradual shift in maturity in the main character. I very recently read Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman, and in that book it starts off really immature and starts getting a lot more mature as you get throughout the book, and Later did exactly the same thing. One more thing that I want to comment on is the title Later. Later is a word that is used very frequently in Later, and it is most commonly referring to information that Jamie learns as an adult which applies to the events of his life when he was a kid. What I'm about to say is a very, 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 very mild spoiler, so skip ahead 10 seconds if you don't want to hear it. But the last word of this book is later, and I found that to be so powerful. I absolutely loved it. So I can't wait to get my hands on a physical copy of Later. I pre-ordered it months ago, but I really, really, really want the physical copy. I read it on my Kindle. I didn't just sprout it out of my brain. I read it on Kindle, but I can't wait to get my physical copy. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big fat thumbs up, and please consider subscribing for more bookish content from me. Let me know how excited you are for Later in the comments down below, or if you've already read it, let me know what your thoughts are. All of my social media links are in the description below, and I will see you next time with another video. Goodbye.